Let's paint this pretty hibiscus flower together using easy to follow steps. As always, I've done an outline like this and I've traced it down from the reference photograph, and don't worry if you can't draw or don't like drawing, because I'll provide you with an outline and a reference photograph for free, and I'll tell you later on how you can have access to those. I'm just using a few colours today and I've swatched them out here. Super easy to do, so make colour matching really easy. I have these little cards that I've swatched out in all my watercolour kits, and I highly recommend making one of those, and I'll link another video at the top of your screen explaining how I make the colour charts to match my colours easily. And you can see here all the brushes I'm using today are from my own kit from Craftamo, and all the materials I'm going to be using I will link in the description box. But I just grabbed this paper from Jackson's. I hadn't tried it before, and it's a handmade watercolour paper, so I thought I'd try it out today with you to see how well it performs, and I have to say I really loved it. So I've mixed out all my colours here, and watercolour is all about building up with different layers, allowing each layer to dry before applying the next. So using my number 8 brush, I've mixed a really watery mix of bright ochre. This is a lovely bright pink colour, but by adding a lot of water, notice how pale that colour is. And I'm adding this to the really bright pink areas of the hibiscus flower just by using my number 8 brush. This one has a fine point and it makes it really easy to push that pigment into the pencil line like this. So just all over the really bright pink areas, just to give us our base tone so that we know where we're going to be applying the colour later on. Now you saw me there dipping the brush in my little puddle of water and patting it on my kitchen paper. This makes blending really easy, and I do have a video explaining how I do my watercolour application, and in case you want to see that, once again I will pin it onto the top of your screen. This is a colour called yellow green, and I'm taking this to form the base of all the leaves. The other green that you can see me there using is sap green, and sap is a little bit more, well, green I guess, and I'm dropping it in as you can see me doing on the video here, and down the stem. And I will take these two colours, either of them will do, all over the leaves as part of the initial wash. Just using my number 8 brush and just taking it down the stem like this. The colours that you can see swatched on the left hand side there of my little sketchbook, these are the colours that I've chosen to use for this hibiscus flower, and the colours to the other side there are just the colours that I've mixed together or even glazed over one another to see how dark or how vibrant I can get those colour mixes. This is a really great exercise to do if you want to just practice your watercolour application and see how they work. And remember, I said at the beginning how to create your watercolour mixing chart, your watercolour chart, to help you match your colours, and I have devised a really easy way to do that, so I do recommend that you click on that video. So I'm just dropping in a little bit more of that pigment, and we have to be really patient and let watercolour dry before applying the next layer. And you can see me here using my number 2 brush. Again, this is from my own set, dropping in the sap green with a tiny bit of that burnt sienna just to tone it down a little bit. I'm also adding a tiny bit of sap green to the base of the hibiscus flower. It's barely visible at the moment, but we just need to let that dry before we pack a punch with the rest of our colours. I'm just blending out the tip of the stem here. So now that this first layer is dry, you can see I'm just going over again with another layer of sap just to brighten up those beautiful leaves. I'm using my number 2 brush here, and again this is from my own set from Craftamo, and they may still be available. We did do a limited edition run of them, so in case there are still a few left, I will link them in the description box underneath. So just blending in that colour, again using the application method that I've showed you earlier on, and just continuing the process. Now at the start of this video I mentioned that we provide you with a reference photograph and an outline so that you can join in and trace these paintings down for yourself. We'd love you to join in with us. So I will put that at the end of the video, just the photograph that you can see on your screen right now, along with a really simple pencil outline. Now, if you would prefer to have a digital version that you can download and have delivered directly to your inbox, there is another way that you can have access to that. Again, completely free. All you need to do is join my Patreon, and I provide all my patrons with a free reference photograph and digital version of the outline so that you can have that delivered every week directly to your inbox. Now, Patreon is an online learning platform where you can join up and get different tutorials every month, and you won't find any of my Patreon tutorials here on YouTube. They are much more in depth and much more botanical, so in case that's of interest to you, let's just take a little look. Are you an aspiring artist looking to take your skills to the next level? Or perhaps you're looking for fresh inspiration? Then you may want to consider joining our Patreon. Our Patreon tutorials have much more in-depth instructions and are at a much slower pace, and depending on the membership level you choose, you can have personalised feedback from me and video calls. Unlike our YouTube tutorials, our Patreon art classes focus on really learning the art of botanical painting, and I will guide you step by step through the technique and skills you will need to learn and improve your botanical art. All of our Patreon tutorials are exclusive to my patrons and you won't find them on YouTube. So why not join up to our Patreon and start creating botanical art you can be truly proud of. So you can leave and join Patreon at any time. If you did want to grab yourself those free references, then it's completely free to join with absolutely no obligation to join our paid Patreon. So do take a look, and once again I will link it in the description box. So here you can see me applying a mixture of yellow ochre with bright ochre. I've mixed the colours together rather than glazing them on top, just to make it really quick and easy, and I'm using my number 2 brush to take that pigment right up to the pencil line, and you can see me here just pulling out 1 or 2 threads of that paint to create the illusion of there being veins. Just picking up a smidgen of that ochre, and you can see me dropping it in there just to enhance the outline of those petals. If you are enjoying this video, could I ask you to give it a big thumbs up? It's a way of letting YouTube know that you are enjoying what you see. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. I release full tutorials every week. They aren't sped up. You will get a full tutorial, which means that you can join in with me and paint along with me for completely free. And like I said, we even provide you with that free outline. You can see me here just adding a bit more of that bright ochre with the yellow ochre and just blending it through. Now, you don't have to have the colours that I'm using to join in with this tutorial. In fact, if you are struggling with matching your colours and you do want to join in, let me know in the comments below which colours that you're using, which colours that you have within your own set. And I can help you out. I answer every comment, so if you are struggling, let me know in the comments below what your colours that you have, and I can help you match them to the ones that I'm using today. So do drop me a comment if you don't have the colours, and I will be able to help you out. Like I said, I answer all comments, so you won't get left out. We want you to join in with this tutorial. We want art to be available for everyone, and that's part of why I set up this YouTube channel a good few years ago. Okay, so you can see me here using my number 2 brush to add a little bit of burnt sienna to the outside edge of these petals, and I'm going to continue the process for the others, doing a really pale wash of yellow ochre on this side petal here, and just dropping in a little bit of that pink tone. So remember to stay right until the end of this video, where you can pause it and screenshot this simple outline and of course the reference photograph, so you can trace down that drawing, which makes it really easy, and it means that you don't have to worry about getting that drawing correct before adding your paint, which is kind of what we're all about here on the Wonders of Watercolour. So just adding some more green. I've mixed that sap green with a little bit of burnt sienna. You can see how dark that colour is now, and I'm using my brush to just take that sap green all the way down the stem. At this stage you can see how it's all kind of coming together by adding the different dimensions. I'm adding another layer of green to the underside of the stem just to give it a little bit more dimension and to stop it from looking so flat. And this paper is absolutely lovely to use, but you must make sure that everything's dry. And I'm using my blender brush just to get rid of those hard edges and doing a little bit of lifting out. This particular brush is really special. I designed it with this kind of idea in mind, where a lot of these brushes that you see for lifting out have a flat edge, and I love this one because its curved edge means that you can lift out any sort of unusual shapes and curves that you have, and it just makes that lift out really, really easy. This is my number 4 brush. It has a really, really fine point, but of course you can use any brushes that you like. We just want you to join in and have fun. And I'm using my yellow ochre here to dot on the stamen and anther, and just using a little circular motion there so that you can see the middle of the plant. The colour that I have left on the brush, I'm just picking up a little bit more of that burnt sienna, and I'm using this to add a little bit of detail here and there, and I'm just softening that edge with a tiny bit of water and pulling out that colour. Really, really easy to do. Adding a little bit more of that mix to the this little tiny petal here, and once again cleaning my brush, patting it dry and blending it out. The great thing about watercolour is you can tackle your painting little by little. There's no rush here, there's no stress. We want to make it all as stress-free as possible, and just taking your time. You can pause this video at any time, and you can even slow it down if you find that I'm talking a bit too fast for you. I know some people think I talk really, really quickly. I'm just trying to keep up with myself with my painting. So if you do find that I'm going a little bit too fast, you can slow down that video a little bit. Just adding a bit more of that bright ochre. You can see how it sits so nicely now between the first and second layer of paint that I've put on, and I'm using that motion to just blend it out by cleaning my brush, patting it dry, and then with that damp brush just adding a little bit of detail here and there. Notice how subtle some of the colours are. I'm not going strictly to that photograph, I'm just using the photograph as my guide, and I'll keep it on the top of your screen throughout this tutorial so that you can see what I'm referring to, and of course I'm going to put it right at the end as I promised earlier on. So just patting that brush into the corners and just blending it through using that damp brush. This is my number 4. This particular brush has a really, really fine point, as I said earlier on, and it's great for finer detail. So if you find that you've got any really, really small veins that you want to paint in, or any sharpness that you want to give to your painting, this brush is ideal for that. I'm just adding a little wash here of the yellow ochre because I wanted to glaze over that colour because I felt it was looking a little bit too pink, and just to give it a little bit more definition. Adding a bit more pink here, and you can see that paper's still damp, so it's blurring out those veins really, really nicely. I'm just using a soft brush there to drop in some more of that green mix there, and just drawing in a few veins as you can see me doing here. It's up to you how much detail you put. It's your painting, so make it your own and just add as much detail as you want to. I'm just going to add a few more of these little veins here. Because this top leaf is still a little bit damp, that paint has blurred into the leaf, but I actually quite like that effect because this paper is so absorbent, because it's handmade and it's a rough surface. It does take a little bit longer to dry, but I don't mind that look. I think it looks quite nice. So I'm building up those colours as you can see me doing here. Just felt that it needed a little bit more green on this bottom leaf, and so I'm just applying that over my first wash. At this point you can still see how lovely and subtle these colours look. Just going in with my number 4 brush to add a little bit of a detail there at the top. I'm using my blender brush just to merge some of those colours together. This is damp and I'm just wiggling it over the entire thing just to soften any hard edges. Back to my number 4 brush, and I'm dropping in that opera colour there with a tiny bit of the burnt sienna. You can see how it's blurring into that damp paper, which is absolutely fine. Picking up a tiny bit more of the burnt sienna. The paints, by the way, that I'm using today are from Mijello Mission Gold. These paints are really, really beautiful. They have a great colour payoff. You don't need very much at all to get a strong colour with them. Carrying on the process, adding a little bit more colour here and there where I feel it's needed. just sort of blending the colours together. That's just carrying on there. I'm using my number 4 brush here just to sharpen some of the outside edges. I felt they'd lost a little bit of definition, and this brush is great for doing that because it really sharpens up those edges. It makes it look really nice against that paper. Continuing that process and just dropping in a little bit more of that mixture of sap and burnt sienna. And again, adding a bit more detail to the base of the hibiscus there. And you can see by taking that green colour to the outside edge of the petal, it means that you can quite simply sharpen up the outside, and it makes that lovely pale pink, pale petal stand out. So just dropping in a bit more pigment. Wiggling my brush to create a little bit of shape and a little bit of texture. And where I've lifted out that colour earlier on, you can see that I'm just enhancing that lift out by going around the outside of it. I felt like the outside edges of these petals needed a little sharpening up, so I'm doing that with my number 4 brush, and once again adding a little bit of veining here and there to give the idea of texture. Back to that lovely burnt sienna, just to add a few veins. So you can see here that I've actually dropped some paint onto the paper, but I'm just using my magic eraser there to remove it really, really easily. These are great for any mishaps, and we all have them, so it's something that I have within my kit, and highly recommend that you get one of those just in case you do it too. Okay, so at this point it's just a case of carrying on with the process. I'm going to stop talking to let you watch the rest of this video in peace. I'll play you some lovely music so that you can just chill and watch the rest of it. Do stay until the end where you can have access to that outline and reference photograph, and do consider subscribing. I'd love to see you here every Tuesday. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.